HoopsOnLane.com Fan Podcast, Episode 64, Indiana Postgame.
Hoops on Lane Fan Podcast is sponsored by About Face Cosmetic Therapy Center, because basketball season is also laser hair removal season.
You're listening to Hoops on Lane, a fan-produced pregame and postgame podcast about the Ohio State University men's basketball team. Visit hoopsonlane.com or subscribe where you listen to podcasts for all the latest episodes and information. Now here's your host, Dave Horning.
Greetings, Hoops fans. This is Dave Horning for HoopsOnLane.com Fan Podcast with a postgame review of the Ohio State Buckeyes' exciting victory over the Indiana Hoosiers in double overtime. The Buckeyes winning in Bloomington by the score of 80-78. Isn't it great to be a college basketball fan? And what fun it was watching this game. What an emotional up and down and up. With a minute left in the second overtime, Keita Bates-Diop drives while being heavily defended and makes a layup in the lane to give Ohio State a 77-76 lead. Coach Holtman calls his last timeout. It was a great use of the timeout as it allowed the Buckeyes to have a rest and to set up the defense at this critical point. And it was a success. Ohio State's defense by Jayshawn Tate against the next Indiana slashing drive was better, and Indiana's Justin Smith missed the layup. Keita Bates-Diop grabbed the rebound. Ohio State's ball with 45 seconds left and a 1-point lead. If we can make a basket on the next possession, we have it just about sewn up. But wait, oh no! Andrew Dockich takes his eye off the ball on the pass coming to him and it goes out of bounds. Now Indiana has a chance to score a basket and take the lead with just 16 seconds left. They can wait for the last shot. Again, it is the slashing layup. Again, it is heavily defended, but Indiana's Juwan Morgan comes back across the lane, moving left and underneath Keita Bates-Diop and puts it up and in. Oh no! Indiana 78, Ohio State 77, and there are only 7 seconds left, no timeouts. Jayshawn Tate inbounds the pass to C.J. Jackson, and he runs the ball up court. When he gets about 30 feet away, Keita Bates-Diop is positioned at the left wing. C.J. fakes a pass to Keita, which causes C.J.'s defender to move away and double-team Keita. Great ball fake, not a bobble. CJ lets it fly, and it is good from 30 feet. Indiana tries a half-court shot and misses. Ohio State wins 80-78. What a great game. How about them Buckeyes? Not only was it a great game, but it was fun to watch the entire 50 minutes. Ohio State jumped to an early lead. Indiana came back and tied it at halftime. The Buckeyes were strong the first 5 minutes of the second half. Indiana came back again, and then it was back and forth the last 10 minutes of the second half and in both overtimes. The Buckeyes did play strong the entire game and never gave up. It wasn't a perfect game, but the Buckeyes never gave up. I'm so happy to see the Buckeyes win. Andrew Dockich played well in the overtimes. He had an important strip/block and a great assist in the second overtime to Jayshawn Tate. He played well and his one mistake at the end did not matter. Our two big men, Keita Bates-Diop and Caleb Wesson, stepped up big time and led the team like we needed them to. Keita Bates-Diop hit 2 3-point shots early and finished the game with 24 points. I was glad to see Keita keep shooting. Caleb Wesson was dominant underneath until he fouled out. That fourth and fifth foul call on Caleb were terrible. Should have been no calls both times. The refs called Ohio State for 21 fouls and Indiana for only 13. At one point, the announcer even talked about how Jayshawn Tate was being bounced around, but how strong and tough Jayshawn was that it didn't look like he was being fouled. This was hilarious. It was an admission by the announcer that Jayshawn was getting fouled and that the refs weren't calling it. The refereeing was bad, but expected on the road in the Big Ten. My concern going into this game was that Indiana would enjoy the home court advantage and shoot well from behind the three-point arc. They were 7 of 16 for 44%. Ohio State was only 6 of 18 for 33%, but that last one by C.J. Jackson was the difference. Ohio State won the rebounding battle 41-35. Each team had 16 assists, but the Buckeyes had 9 steals and 8 blocks, 4 blocks by Keita Bates-Diop. That's our star stepping up. Final score, Ohio State 80, Indiana 78. Double overtime victory. Up next for the Buckeyes, the Big Ten tournament in Madison Square Garden, with a game on Friday, March the 2nd at 6:30 p.m. The opponent is yet to be determined. Now, I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the release of the news from Yahoo Sports. Headline: Federal documents detail sweeping potential NCAA violations involving high-profile players' schools. I'm not going to review the article as I assume most avid fans will have heard about it. And furthermore, the official report is not out yet, just this leaked story. I am going to express appreciation to Thad Matta that the Buckeyes are not mentioned in this article. A heartfelt thank you to former coach Thad Matta for playing by the rules. I'd also like to discuss my idea for solving the problem. I call it the, quote, direct endorsement plan, unquote. The problem is that money is coming into the hands of highly sought recruits and, Under the current system, those coaches like Thad Matta that play by the rules are at a competitive disadvantage. I feel there is no way to prevent money from flowing into those 15 elite players in every class. There are too many clever ways around the rules. For example, giving the money to the parents, etc., etc., etc. I do not feel the flow of money can be stopped to these athletes. But I do not want the athletic departments to start paying college athletics. That would destroy the non-revenue sports, and it would raise ticket prices. Therefore, I have developed an idea I call the direct endorsement plan. I am recommending that the shoemakers, Adidas, Nike, Converse, etc., be allowed to give money directly to high school and college athletes as an endorsement for wearing their shoes. Not alone and not from or through any agents or coaches or universities, directly from the shoemakers to the high school or college athletes. It is a direct endorsement without any middlemen, open and notorious. Here are my reasons. Number 1. I believe that high school and college athletes will get the money and that it cannot be prevented. And there are too many high school athletes and their parents who are living in poverty. It is a condition that cannot and will not simultaneously endure. Billions of dollars for a tournament, high school athletes and their families living in poverty. Money will flow to these athletes. Maybe that shouldn't happen, but it will. It cannot be stopped. Just like prohibition could not stop alcohol consumption. We've given up on the idea that Olympic athletes should be amateurs. So let's give up on NCAA athletes having to be strict amateurs also. I have given up on this, quote, ideal, unquote. I simply want a level playing field more than I want the purity of amateurism in NCAA sports. Number 2. The athletic directors will object to this. They want that shoe money for themselves, their budgets, and their coaches. So this will be the opposition that must be overcome. Also, the biggest programs will also object to any new idea that levels the playing field. Point number 3. Allowing shoemakers to directly endorse will level the playing field. A high school athlete might get $500 per month directly from Nike and then be allowed to decide which college he or she wants to attend, provided they can get admitted. The shoemakers will not be able to steer the athletes because they are not giving money to the colleges anymore. That athlete might decide to go to the University of Cincinnati instead of Alabama because they would have a better chance of playing time. It would put the University of Cincinnati and Alabama in a more competitive environment compared to allowing the college athletic departments to pay athletes, and it would result in non-revenue sports like wrestling, gymnastics, track and field, fencing, field hockey, etc. to be dropped. It would also raise ticket prices for all fans. Number 4. The high school or college athlete getting endorsement money for the shoes would still qualify for a college scholarship. That would cover the room, board, and education. The shoe endorsement money would cover walk-around money, so the college student can afford a concert ticket. It is the only endorsement that would be allowed. I'm not advocating for NASCAR-like stickers all over a player's uniform. Number 5. The colleges and the NCAA would not be responsible for, quote, fairness, unquote, issues. The free market would decide. If Adidas wants to give money to the fencing team but not the rugby team, so be it. Every college athlete would be eligible to strike the best deal in the marketplace. If Nike wants to give direct endorsement money to women's basketball players but not to the men, then that would be okay. The free market would decide. The mascots might even be able to strike a deal. And the cheerleaders too. It wouldn't raise ticket prices for the fans. The money would come from the shoemakers. Number 6. It would eliminate the agents getting control over athletes. The sports agents would be removed. They would not be loaning money to athletes and thus would have no rights or expectations of future contracts. Number 7. The monies paid out by the shoemakers would be income, not loans. No payback required. No breaking of illegal contracts. No enforcement of alleged promises made. No broken promises. No broken bones, etc. Number 8. The monies would be one-year deals paid in advance to an escrow department that would dole out the money weekly to the players. They would be renewable every year or not as the athlete performs or not. A bench player at Wright State who is having a great year might be added to the list of income receivers mid-season. Number 9. High school and college teams should all have the same uniforms and helmets for safety purposes, but shoes are an individual issue. No athlete should be forced to wear Nike if they like Converse better. I believe this is a way out of this mess. If the present condition continues, there is a huge downside for NCAA athletics. There are 351 NCAA Division I men basketball programs. If the, quote, have-nots, unquote, feel the deck is stacked against them, then why should fans put their emotion and money into a mid-major team? If the, quote, haves, unquote, if their fan base celebrates their national championship and then it is stripped away the next year, or 5 or 20 years later, and as that happens more and more, then why should fans of the haves invest their emotion and monies into those teams? NCAA sports could wither if the ideal of strict amateurism is maintained while money continues to flow illegally to the players. That is not a condition that can endure. Thank you for your consideration of this idea. Your feedback is welcome. Let me know your thoughts at hoopsonlane@gmail.com. This is Dave Horning for hoopsonlane.com fan podcast. Go Bucks!